Welcome back to Tanya. So we're up to chapter 27. In the last chapter, we established that we always need to have joy. We always need to have an open heart and not have a closed heart, not have any worries or depression whatsoever. And we explained that even though at times one should indeed focus on the sins that they did in the past and be sad very momentarily and at periodic times, that is not actually a good thing in and of itself. It's only good because afterward you'll be happy, as we explained over there. Now we're going to start and we're going to continue on this theme of getting over sadness, getting over depression, a specific kind of depression in this chapter. Perek Chaf Zayin, chapter 27, Ve'im ha'atzvut eina medagat avonot ela mahichuchim chaim betavot chaim shenoflot b'machshavto. If the depression is not from worries about sins that one did in the past, rather it is because of evil thoughts and evil desires that fall in his thought now, currently. Meaning that now he is having evil thoughts. So, of course, he's sad. Why? He's saying, I'm working so hard to become a better version of myself, and I'm still getting evil thoughts. I feel like I haven't gotten anywhere. I feel like I'm just hitting a dead end. So that can be depressing. הנה, אם נופלות לו שלא בשעת עבודה, אלא בתעסקו בעסק עבודתך ארץ וקהי גברה. אדרבה יש לו לשמוח בחלקו, שאף שנופלות לו במחשבתו ומסייחתה איתו בהן. לקיים השלמך ולא תתוך אחרי לבב, וכם אחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זולים אחריהם. So the question is now, when do these thoughts come to him, the evil thoughts? Do they come to him during the time when he's serving God? For example, doing a mitzvah, learning Torah, praying, and so on. And if it is, stay tuned for the next chapter, chapter 28, we're going to talk about that. But over here specifically talking about when these evil thoughts come to him when he's just going by way of his life, not by the time of his service, divine service, instead in the time of his business and ways of the, daily things, and similarly. So if that happens, really, not only should he not be sad, on the contrary, he should be happy that he's getting evil thoughts. Okay, let me be very clear about that. He should be happy because of these evil thoughts. How come? How does that make any sense? You should be happy that you're getting evil thoughts. This explains. Because he has the opportunity right now to divert his mind away from those thoughts. And when one does that, then he fulfills a mitzvah. As it says, don't stray after your heart and after your eyes that you're wandering after, that you're going astray after. That is in the Shema prayer. So we actually should find a happiness in getting evil thoughts, because we have the ability now to start thinking about other things, and by doing that, fulfilling a mitzvah. And why are you happy about fulfilling a mitzvah? I'll just digress shortly. Number one, there's two kinds of happiness. One, because you're doing a mitzvah. The first kind of happiness is because you get to fulfill the desire of the creator of the world. That's one reason to be happy. And the second reason to be happy from doing a mitzvah is because you are making God happy. So you're actually happy that God is happy. So that is the mitzvah that one would be fulfilling here. The verse is not speaking of tzaddikim. We mentioned earlier that tzaddikim, in the I think, basic definition is somebody that is perfect. That is a tzaddik. So a tzaddik is a perfect person. Someone, in other words, what does perfect mean? Perfect in that the evil is totally out of him. He doesn't have any evil in his system. his heart is pure of evil. Now the mitzvah cannot be applying to them because they don't go astray. The verse says that you should go astray after. A tzaddik doesn't go astray. So that's, God forbid. So a tzaddik doesn't have that mitzvah. So really you're more special than a tzaddik, the person that's getting these evil thoughts. Instead it's talking about Benonim and similar, which are not perfect, have evil thoughts, and so on. That get thoughts like, for instance, of promiscuity, whether they're permissible thoughts of promiscuity, like for example regarding one's spouse, or someone who potentially could be one's spouse, or it says in etc. Thoughts of promiscuity for someone that would be forbidden to them. So any of these kind of evil thoughts, which we said evil because they are basically a selfish desire. So that would be the definition given for evil here. Now, ukeshmesiach daito mehem, daito mekaim lavze, ve'amchu chazal yashav ra'ava chavecha noch turim lotzchach kirasa mitzvah. So when he removes his mind, he is from these thoughts, he's fulfilling this negative commandment of the Torah. And the sages of blessed memory say that one who abstains from sinning receives reward like they're doing a mitzvah. And therefore he should be happy by abstaining from the sin, just like he would be doing a active mitzvah. So they could say, for example, an active mitzvah would be, for instance, giving charity. That would be a source of happiness because you're doing a mitzvah over there. That makes you happy. So the same way you're happy by doing that, you should be happy by abstaining from sinning. Now, I'm just going to add an additional element, and this is what he says over here also, basically, that you can only fulfill this mitzvah of, what's the mitzvah again? Not to go astray after your heart and eyes, if your heart is not fixed, if you're not perfect. That means only once a person gets an evil thought and then they don't listen to that evil thought, instead think about good things, are they fulfilling that mitzvah. But somebody that doesn't get evil thoughts at all are not able to fulfill the mitzvah. Because by definition, the mitzvah is turning away from something evil, turning away from that evil thought. So, really, somebody that's imperfect is superior to somebody that's perfect in this case. Because the person that's perfect doesn't have the same amount of opportunity to fulfill the mitzvah, because they don't get evil thoughts. So the bottom line is that one should be happy that they're getting evil thoughts. On the contrary, why are you getting sad? Why is somebody getting sad that evil thoughts are coming to him? If you think about it, it's really not a good thing that one's getting sad. Because that kind of sadness actually comes from arrogance. And that is the point over here. Why? Because he does not realize that he is not perfect. And therefore, his heart gets anxiety. Because he's not on the level of a tzaddik. He's not perfect. And again, that level would be somebody that certainly these kind of foolish thoughts don't occur to them. So what is the arrogance? The arrogance is thinking, I should be perfect, and I'm getting these thoughts. That means I'm not perfect. So I'm going to be sad because I should be perfect, or I'm almost perfect. What makes you think you're almost perfect? Who do you think you are? You're far from perfect. So what kind of arrogance is it, thinking that you're almost perfect and therefore becoming sad when the thoughts come to you? So it all comes from arrogance. That's the point. Because really, if you were aware, or if this person was aware of their state, that he is very far from the level of a tzaddik, he's far from perfect. And if only he was a Benoni. Again, a Benoni is somebody, like we mentioned earlier, that contains those evil thoughts. And not a wicked person, a rasha, all of his days. Even for 1 second. Right? So somebody, like, even for 1 second, he would at least be a Benoni. That's what he's saying over here. Okay. So the point is that don't strive to be perfect, because you're not. You're far from perfect. Don't be so arrogant to think that you should be perfect. In fact, it's completely normal not to be perfect. That means that you're a human being. So don't strive for that. That's not for you. Strive to at least be a Benoni. Strive to contain your evil emotions. And at least do that a second at a time. At least do that for 1 second. And don't give in to those evil emotions, which would be what a wicked person would do. So now, what is the service of a Benoni that a person should always strive for? We've actually covered this already in chapters 12, 13, and 14. See over there. It is to conquer the evil desires, the evil emotions, and the thought, that evil thought that comes from the heart to the mind. And to remove his mind completely from it, and to push it away with 2 hands, as we mentioned before, which we said basically means completely push away any evil thought that comes to him. And that is what we should all strive for. Whenever an evil thought comes to us, it's fine. We're normal. We're not perfect. Push it away. And that is really what you should strive to do. That's it. Not higher, not more than that. Every time that he pushes away from his thought, this evil thing from this thought, he actually overpowers the other side, which is the force of evil below in this world. Meaning that every time you do it, even if it's just like before, shah achat, for 1 second, that moment that you're pushing away the evil thought, you are overpowering the force of evil. Okay? Fine. So, ubiitaruta de tata, itaruta de eila. Vitkafis itchachucha de eila magbe atzma kaneshech. And once the evil forces are overpowered below, and there's this awakening from below, meaning, what does below mean? Below is referring to our universe, our world. Then there's an awakening from above. There's also what? What does that mean? There's an overpowering of the evil forces above. In the higher worlds, the higher spiritual worlds, that up there, it essentially elevates itself like an eagle. And that is basically the whole idea of the evil. Evil is, as we mentioned, something, we mentioned this in chapter 22, I believe, 23 maybe. Essentially, what is the idea of evil? Evil seeks to become its own identity and become something outside of the realm of God. That's why it's called evil. Something that's good submits itself to God. Something that's evil separates itself from God. So that is both the evil in this world and the evil above. And it is all one evil. It is all connected. So we are weakening the force of evil below and above. And it seems almost like it's saying over here that the evil above is overpowered from a awakening from above. Okay, fine. And this way, when you do that, you fulfill the verse, if you shall lift yourself up like an eagle, from there I will bring you down, says Hashem. So in other words, what are we trying to say over here? I hope it's not too complicated, but the idea is that every minute that you overpower your evil thoughts and evil emotions, you're actually weakening the forces of evil through all the worlds. And you're making the world a better place. וכמו שהפליג בזוהר פרשת תחומה, תקכ"ח, בגודל הנחתכוח רפנה והתפרח. כדתקפי עשיתך אחוכה דתתא, דיסתלק ככה דקודשא בריחו לעילה, על כולי, יתך משפחה אחוכה, דיסתלקותא דה יתך מכולה וכולו. And as the Zohar in the portion of Truma praises the great pleasure that God has in front of God, blessed be He, when the evil forces are overpowered below, as the Zohar says, right over there, that the glory of God is elevated above, and this is so great that it's greater than any other praise and on any other elevation. This elevation is greater than any other. And therefore, every time you push away some evil thought, you're doing such an amazing thing. You're diminishing the evil forces, and you are causing God such a great pleasure. Therefore, al yipol lev adam alav, v'lo yira levav me'od. A person's heart should not fall down and depressed on him, and should not get anxious very much. Even if his entire life he'll have this battle. Because maybe, this is a very powerful line, maybe this is the reason that he was created, and this is his mission, this is his service, to overpower the evil forces consistently. we mentioned before, the whole reason that someone is getting depressed over here is because they think that they should become perfect. And they're not perfect, that bothers them and gets them down. We're saying over here, maybe that's why you were created, in order to not be perfect. And it's actually a good thing that you're not perfect. You know why? Because you know what you're accomplishing by not being perfect? You're, like we said before, weakening the evil forces and giving God pleasure. And this is a battle that may be the reason that you were born. To constantly do this overpowering. And this is the verse in Job that says that God created evil people, wicked people. We questioned in the past, how could it be that God should create somebody evil? That means that they don't have free will. So we're saying over here, no. Don't take that verse literally. God didn't create wicked people that they should literally be wicked, God forbid. What did God create? Not wicked people, period. People to whom wicked actions that a wicked person would do, come into their thoughts alone. So in other words, people with wicked emotions that start to have wicked thoughts, but not that they are definitively wicked. And they constantly battle to remove their thoughts from these evil intentions. In order, like we said earlier, to overpower the evil forces, and they will not be able to. And that is fine. And that is what God made a person like. Not to completely nullify this evil. That nullification of evil happens through perfect people. Happens through what we call tzaddikim. So there's two kinds of service. Two kinds of people that God created, and that's fine. One kind of person is somebody who has evil in his heart. I think it's fair to say that's most of us. And they are constantly battling to overpower it, and this way weakening the force of evil. That's one kind of person that God created. And that might be you, and that's okay. You're doing a great thing. The second kind of person that God created is a tzaddik, somebody who doesn't have anything evil in his heart, who is perfect. He's a perfect person. And any evil in him is nullified completely. There's two kinds of pleasure before God above. Blessed be He. Echad, the first kind of pleasure that God has. The first kind of pleasure that God gets is when the evil forces are nullified completely and transformed from bitter to sweet and from darkness to light through the tzaddikim. So God does have pleasure from perfect people. They are able to completely transform the evil, that it shouldn't be evil anymore, and it should turn sweet, it should turn light, it should turn good. But the second kind of pleasure that God gets, the second is when the evil forces are overpowered, but not completely nullified. Instead, the evil forces are strong, and they raise themselves up in defiance of God, like an eagle. And from that place of strength, it is brought down by the awakening from below that happens through the Benonim that we all should strive to be. So, if you think about it, it is a very pleasurable thing. That you have such an evil, that's such a strong evil in one's heart. There is this evil, but from its place of strength, it's brought down. God derives pleasure from that. That is what the verse says, make for me delicacies, like I enjoyed. God says this. Delicacies in the verse are plural. There's two kinds of pleasure that God has. And we're going to explain that shortly. And that is the statement of the divine presence to its children, the populace of Israel, as it explains in the Tikkunim, in the Kabbalistic works. Now, delicacies in plural, like we said. When it comes also to physical delicacies, for example, there's two styles, there's two kinds. One is sweet foods. והשני, the second kind of delicacy, מטווחים חריפים וחמוצים רק שמטוברים ומתוקנים היטב עד שנעשו מעדנים נעשו בנפש, is spicy or sour food. And that sourness becomes fixed or cooked nicely, very well, until it becomes a delicacy as well to restore one's soul. In other words, there's two kinds of delicacies. One is a delicacy that is sweet already, and another delicacy is actually sour. Something sour that is cooked and worked hard on it, and whatever it is, the process that it goes through to actually turn into something sweet. So it goes from being sour to being sweet. Sour to sweet. It's like sweet and sour chicken, I guess. So those are the two kind of delicacies. וזה שאמר כתוב כל פעל השם למענהו וגם רע שלו יום מחאה פיחו שישוב בחישו ויעשה רע שלו יום באור מלאכה תתקף יסתחרחו ויסלק לקחת קודשו בריחו לעילה. So now those two kind of delicacies, number one refers to the delicacy that a perfect person has, a tzaddik, which is no evil in the first place. He doesn't have any evil in his heart. He's completely good. He's sweet. That's a delicacy. Then there's another kind of delicacy. And that is what the verse says. Everything God created was for him. Even a wicked person for the day of evil. Again, similar to what we said before. Why would God create somebody wicked? Meaning, he has wickedness in his heart, in order, says the Tanya, that he should come and return from the wickedness and make his evil light, or day and light above. Once the evil forces are overpowered and the glory of God is elevated above. So, when one does this, has evil thoughts, and turns away from them, does good, and doesn't heed to them, then they are actually suppressing that sourness of the evil. And that is a delicacy for God as well. And now, we're not only talking about forbidden things, also permissible, completely permissible things. kosher food, whatever it is. As much as one sacrifices his evil inclination, even if it's for a small moment, and he focuses on overpowering the evil forces in his left side of his heart. So in other words, we said before, what is the definition of evil? A selfish motive, a selfish drive. So that could be things that are permissible too. One can selfishly indulge in kosher food, for example, or anything else that's permissible. And when one chooses not to indulge in it, and even if it's for a short moment, but he doesn't just do it for any other reason, like let's say it's a diet or whatever it is, but he actually does it with the intention of overpowering that selfishness, then they are actually doing what we are saying. He's actively fulfilling his mission in this war. For instance, if one desires to eat food, which is fine, it's permissible, but it's for a selfish reason. It's because he wants the food for his own selfish gut, and he postpones the meal for an hour or even less than an hour. Like we said before, even if it's for a small moment. And he doesn't do that for dieting reasons, but instead it's proven he's doing it to do things that are holy. As it says over here, he's doing it to learn Torah during that time. So he's clearly going from a selfish motive to a selfless motive to serving God and doing something that is holy. As the Talmud says that the fourth hour in the day, it's about 10 o'clock a.m., I think, because we're starting from 6 a.m., that was when every person would eat. Every person would eat at 10 a.m. As opposed to Torah scholars would actually postpone their meal to the 6th hour, to 12 p.m. And they would starve themselves for 2 hours for this intention, even though after their meal they would anyway learn the whole day. So in other words, they were learning anyway. What difference did it make if they were learning? What difference did it make if they were eating at 12 or eating at 10? They did it intentionally to starve themselves and suppress their selfish desires and their impulsiveness. We're not only talking about physical delicacies or physical things that we enjoy, but even things that are even more refined, like stopping one's mouth from speaking, things that his heart desires to speak very much, from worldly things, things that are selfish speeches. And even more refined, permissible thoughts that he has that are for selfish purposes. And again, like we said, he decides not to heed to those speeches. He stops his speaking. He doesn't think those thoughts, even though they're kosher. Fine. Then he is overpowering the evil forces below, and like we said, elevating the glory of God and His holiness up very, very high. So the goal is something called iskafia. That is anti-impulsiveness. Anytime one has an impulse to do something, to speak something, to even think something that might not even be forbidden, it might be completely kosher. He wants to indulge in a kosher fashion. And he stops himself, and he has restraint and self-discipline, then he is weakening the forces of evil and causing God a great pleasure. And this overpowering and increase of holiness that happens actually brings about a higher holiness on the person below to help him very much in his service of God. So when one overpowers the evil, then he becomes holier, and he actually gets better. He gets holier and holier and holier. Every time you do it, you become holier. And that is the famous saying of our sages of blessed memory. When a person sanctifies themselves below a little bit, then he becomes sanctified from above a lot. In other words, when one, like we said, postpones his meal by 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and overcomes his impulsiveness, then he brings about himself a high level of holiness, way more than he worked for. And I like to put it in these words that I've heard from my rabbis, that all you need to do is 5%, and God will do 95%. לבד מה שמקיים מצוות עשה שרתוך והתקדישתם וכו' כשמקדש עצמו במותך לו. And that, additionally, he would be fulfilling the positive commandment of the Torah, which is to become holy. When one sanctifies himself in something that is permissible to him. In other words, just not doing evil is not enough to consider to be fulfilling this mitzvah. One only fulfills the mitzvah of v'tkadishtem, be holy, when one doesn't indulge in impulsive things that are permissible. That's the key. What does it mean, become sanctified? Make yourself holy. This means, what does it mean, make yourself holy? Even though, really, he's not holy and separate from the evil forces, because it really is actually strong and burning. It's very at force, like it originally always was in the left side of his heart. So he's not holy, that's for sure, because he has an evilness in his heart. But he makes himself holy. He overpowers that evilness and makes himself holy like that. And then comes the continuation. The verse says, and you will be holy. Make yourself holy. Overpower your evil inclinations, and you will be holy. What does that mean? And ultimately, in the end, he will be really, truly holy and removed from evil. By God doing the rest of the job, by them bringing down holiness, a lot of holiness from above. And that helps him. That corresponding holiness that comes from above helps him remove the evilness from his heart, little by little. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.